Okay, Steve, I had to stop at the end of that last story because we couldn't really follow it in that section. But I read, quite surprised to read that you actually rode in Russia, and one of the jockeys that you were with was Luke Harvey, who's of course now on the telly. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, it was during our summer break. Can't remember the name of the guy who organised it, but it was a team of jocks, English jocks, to go out to Russia to ride in about 4 or 5 races. I haven't never been to Russia before. I love travelling and I love seeing different parts of the world. I was up for it straight away. So there was me, Luke Harvey was on the team as well, Carl Llewellyn, and who's the other guy? What's his name? 1 second. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, we all go out to Russia. Right, okay. Now, for anybody that's never been there before, it will come as a shock. It will come as a shock. It certainly did to me. First of all, we flew into Moscow and we stayed overnight there, and we had a translator with us and whatever, and they put us up in this hotel. I swear to God, the cockroaches were nigh on 6 inches long. I wanted to leave straight away. I wanted to leave out the room I was sleeping in. Anyway, couldn't do it. So I had a few whiskies and passed out, but I slept fully clothed with my jacket on and my bobble hat and whatever. And anyway, the next day I let rip. And okay, they did move us to a better place, but not much better. And then we went down we flew down to a place called Pyatigorsk, it was called. And it was down on the border where all the fighting was. They were fighting the next door neighbours, the Russians were. And we flew down Aeroflot. That's the Russian airline, but it was internal Aeroflot. And this is no word of a lie. We got onto this jet. We didn't get any seat sort of delegated for us to sit in. It was sit where you want. Okay, so we all crowded together, us the jocks and whatever, and out of the 4 seats that we took, and the guy that was with us, there was only 3 seats that had safety belts. So there was 2 seats that were, out of our 5, there was no seat belts, no safety belts. Well, I looked around and whatever, and yeah, nobody seemed to bother. So, fair enough. So we fly down to Pyatigorsk. In the meantime, there was a lady walking down the aisle, reading everybody's sort of palms or whatever. I forgot to add that there was more people on the plane than seats, and they're in the sort of area where you get the food and whatever, like being on a tram. This flight, you had to see it to believe it. The internal flight on the, what's it called? Aeroflot. Unbelievable. Actually unbelievable. Anyway, we get down there. We stay overnight. Yeah, nice place. And the Russians are great for sort of making speeches and whatever. But when you make a speech in Russia, certainly when we were down there in Pyatigorsk, you had to knock back the vodka. Right? The vodka it was like firewater. It blew your socks off. So after a few speeches, I mean, you're feeling the effects, probably just as well, because the actual race, you can't. I can't explain it, but you'll never believe it how it actually was. We walked the track, okay, and the track was like a figure of 88, and all the obstacles I noticed were easy. They were flimsy. It was nothing solid, birch, fences like we had, they're easy, and there were holes and whatever, and this, that, and the other. Apart from the second last. The second last was like a mud brick wall, so high, but on top of that, there was like a tree trunk. So it was about that high. And I thought to myself, well, there's only one jump to jump here. Everything else is easy. So I said to the interpreter, could you just check the form of the horses I'm riding in these races? See if they've ran at this track before. And so he did. And he said, yeah. You ran here 3 or 4 weeks ago. Unbeknown to us, the clerk of the course, good old lady that she was, thought she'd spice this race up a little bit for the international sort of riders. And this was a new obstacle. It was solid. And I had this on DVD, right? There was 10 horses went into this obstacle, second last. So they were all strung out, and it was like somebody being down there with a Kalashnikov rifle going bang, bang. Everything they'd gone through so far, they just brushed through. They came to this, hit it, bang, bang. 8 out of 10 horses fell at this one obstacle. It ruined decimated the British jockeys team. Luke Harvey, I think, broke a collarbone. Carl Llewellyn damaged his knee. The other guy, he did ribs. Luckily, I was one of the fallers too. I landed on my head, so I was okay. And I'm thinking to myself, well, didn't like that. And I'm sort of getting up and I'm looking around like that with one eye open. And I think, oh, Jesus Christ. And there was bodies everywhere. One of the Russian jockeys, he broke his bloody femur. I mean, there was hell to play. So I'm thinking, oh, right. So I jumped up because I'm all right, and I know there's no way this competition can go on. Come on, boys, let's get back. Come on, another race to go. I'm thinking, fuck me, there's no way you're going to get me riding around here ever again. So we had this one competition. It lasted one race, and I swear to God, I've got this on DVD, and I watch it often when I need cheering up. Bang, 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 bang. Unbelievable.
No, but apart from you guys are obviously characters, there was another big character back in those days, Terry Ramsden. What can you remember about Terry? Did you have much dealings with him?
I had the very first dealings with him when he first came into racing. He had horses with, first of all, Hugh Collingridge and David Dale, and they trained about 50 yards from each other on the Exnin Hill. And I'd met the guy, and he was unbelievable. I mean, he talked as though money was like confetti or whatever. I mean, he was trading on the stock markets and stuff like that. That's where he was getting his money from. And he didn't know jack shit about racing or whatever. And he had two horses with David Dale and one horse with Hugh Collingridge. And I rode his first ever winner, Laureate. Won a 2 mile 6 hurdle at Stratford. That was his first winner. And he was so generous. He used to send his driver round to me the day before I'm due to ride, because we got paid out our riding fee through the system, and he'd give me another riding fee in Reddy's on top, which was wonderful. And so I rode him his first winner, and on top of, for winning the race, I got another bundle, and then I rode him a couple more for David Dale and whatever. And he bought a decent horse. I can't remember what it was, but I won on it first time out. And it was only at Plumpton, and it was about 2 weeks before it was a 4-year-old. It was 2 weeks before the 4-year-old race at Haydock, Victor Ladorum. And he wanted to run it in the Victor Ladorum. Actually, it was 10 days later. And I says, boss, you know, he need a little bit more time. I said, I've got to ride Nicky Henderson's horse anyway, a horse called Surfboard, who was actually Antipost's favourite. He'd won 2 or 3 before, and he was going to Victor Dawn before the next step was the Triumph. And he said, look, I'll pay you all this money. I said, yeah, but I'm retained by Nicky Henderson. I can't ride your horse. And I said, if I'm honest, you wouldn't beat Surfboard anyway, not in a million years. You've only just won a hurdle race down at Plumpton. So anyway, he ran it, and I couldn't ride it, and we had a bit of a fallout. And if I'm honest, I thought, well, this guy's not going to last too long anyway. That is probably one of the things I would have done if I could turn back time. I'd have somehow smoothed it over with Terry, because he then really invested masses amount of money, bought some fantastic horses, and he did well. But he was always going to, his bubble was always going to burst. He couldn't carry on like he was carrying on. But he had a bloody good run at it, and a few of the jocks made a fair few quid out of him. Unfortunately, I didn't have the foresight to do that. Well, nobody in the right mind, when they met him, first of all, would have thought he'd go on to do what he did. But he was a lovely guy, don't get me wrong, lovely guy, and I'd love to meet him again sometime and just chat over old times like that. That was Terry.
But at the other end of the spectrum, I know you've got to be a bit ambiguous about this story. You rode a winner of a cellar, and you had some unusual instructions to go and sort of take the horse up to carry on with the horse up to the top of the thing, and what happened next?
Yeah, they sprung it on me a little bit out of the blue, and I didn't really know what was coming. But it was a selling chase. I'll tell you where it was. It was down in Newton Abbot, start of the season. And I was given my instructions. He said, this will win. He said, but when you pull up, because as soon as you go by the post at Newton Abbot, you go left-handed to go out into the country again. But you can run up the corner. All right. He said, when you go by the post and you win, he's so confident. He said, just let him canter out, and just let him go up by that by the corner, and just wait for me there. So I'm thinking, all right, okay, this is a fresh one on me. So he did duly win. So I'm pulling up, and I go up the corner, and out. Your man's waiting there for me. And before I knew it, he grabbed hold of the horse, and he squirted blood up its nose. And he said, right, go on, walk on back to the winner's enclosure. So I walked on back, there's blood dripping out the horse's nose. So you get in the enclosure, right? And because it's a cellar, straight after the race, they sell it. Well, nobody's going to buy it with blood sort of coming out of his nostrils. So there was no bid for it. If there hadn't been any blood, they'd have gone quite a bit of money, because it won doing handstands. It won about 15, 20 lengths. So, yeah. But that was a long time ago. A long time ago. But things did happen like that, believe it or believe it not. And probably an awful lot worse than that.